Hi everyone, good evening. How's everybody doing? I'm Simon Preston. How are things? Yeah, Saturdays, huh? Saturdays are a compelling day. It's a sort of day where you try to get all of your errands done, or a day to recharge the batteries mentally and physically as well. And some people use Saturdays as their day to just go, 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 go. You know? I don't know how some people do it, but they manage to do it. But everybody has different routines in terms of what they accomplish on a Saturday. So, fair enough, fair point in the grand scheme of things. So, in this video in particular, what I'm doing for you guys is letting you know and bringing back some pleasant and wonderful memories for you guys. That's essentially what the point of this video is in particular, and it's important because we need to know where we're coming from and we need to know where we're going, and we're headed straight to the top. That's where we're going because we want to be kings of Concacaf. That's exactly what our intention is. That's exactly what we want to do. And that is exactly what our vision and our goal is. So, let's start where it all began. So, you guys know that before it was called the World Cup, it was the Jules Rimet Trophy, basically. It was the Jules Rimet Trophy, but the FIFA president during that time, I think they referred to it as a World Championship, in a sense, but not the FIFA World Cup. Before it was called the Champions League, it was the European Cup. Before the Premier League, it was just the First Division. That's what it was called at the time. And if you win the First Division, you win the championship. You know? And back in the day, the championship was referred to as Second Division. And Third Division today is now known as League One. Fourth Division today now known as League Two. And I guess it's easier in terms of a numerical perspective. Second Division, okay, that is the second tier of football. Third Division, okay, that's the third tier. You might think League One and you say, huh? Or League Two and you say, huh? But it's fine. And we've gotten accustomed to changes in football over time. Now, let's talk in relation to the Gold Cup. Because before the Gold Cup, there was another competition. And what was that tournament called in particular? Well, that tournament was called the Concacaf Championship. Yes, that's right, the Concacaf Championship. The Concacaf Championship was a football tournament in our region that took place from 1963 all the way to 1989. This competition is also referred to as the Concacaf Campeonato de Nacionales. The first championship took place in 1963, and it was a competition that took place every 2 years. In 1973, the tournament became part of the World Cup qualifying process. So for the 1974 World Cup qualifying cycle, it started to become the qualifying process, and in effect, the CONCACAF Championship started to take a quadrennial cycle. The CONCACAF trophy was given to the team that ranked highest in the qualifying group. In 1985 and 1989, however, there was no host for the competition. And as you know, this competition was discontinued in 1989. And what happened after 1989? Well, a new competition was formed. And that competition today is known as the CONCACAF Gold Cup. And many people have been wondering, before we touch on the CONCACAF Gold Cup in particular, what was Jamaica's history or record or run like in the CONCACAF Championship? Well, in terms of the CONCACAF Championship itself, Jamaica took part in this CONCACAF Championship twice, 8 matches, and they registered 1 draw. They scored 4 goals in this process. So the championship was when it was called the CONCACAF Championship, it was not, you could say, fruitful, in 1963 and 69, but in came the 90s, and guess what? Things changed. And boy, did they change. Exciting things, outstanding things. And what in particular? How did all of this come about? Well, let's start from the very beginning. And for that answer, we have to go back to the Caribbean Cup of 1989. Now, in 1989, it was the first edition of the Caribbean Cup. But the first Caribbean Cup that was used to qualify teams for the Gold Cup itself was the 1991 edition of the Caribbean Cup. Now, in the 1991 edition of the Caribbean Cup, Jamaica took on Guyana, defeated them 6-0. That's right, goals from important players that we know today, the likes of Wayne Palmer and Paul Teagat-Davis, and also Roderick Reed, Barrington Gaynor, and also Walter Boyd. Jamaica also defeated the Cayman Islands 3-2 as well, and Jamaica in the semi-finals took on St. Lucia 1-2-0, and then in the final defeated Trinidad and Tobago at the National Stadium itself. A good result as Jamaica qualified for the Gold Cup. In the Gold Cup itself, Jamaica scored their first ever goal. That's right, Roderick Reed in 1991 scored Jamaica's first ever goal in Gold Cup history. Roderick Reed is in his, I would say, mid-50s today. Played for Jamaica in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. Scored 6 goals for Jamaica. Scored against the likes of Guyana, St. Lucia, Mexico, Canada, Martinique, Bermuda. So he was somebody that scored goals for Jamaica and even played in university in the States at Tiffin University, which is located in Ohio. Jamaica's next game, you could say, where some more history was created was against Canada in the very same tournament. Despite the Canadians having a 3-2 result, this was the first time in Gold Cup history that Jamaica were scoring 2 goals in a game. Yep, that is right. And who were the goal scorers in that game? Hector Wright and Roderick Reed. Hector Wright and Roderick Reed. Those were the goal scorers for Jamaica. That's right, those were the goal scorers. Can you imagine? So, we move on to 1993. And this was a tournament where things continued. So, what happened in this edition of the Gold Cup? Well, for starters, in terms of qualification, despite Jamaica not actually winning the Caribbean Cup in 1993, Jamaica did come second. And this was when Jamaica and Martinique took part in the Gold Cup, the 2 Caribbean teams. Jamaica hosted the final round of the Caribbean Cup. Jamaica breezed through the group stage, victories over St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Martin and Puerto Rico, and then in the semi-finals defeated Trinidad and Tobago. In the final, Martinique, on penalties, got the result. Now, in the Gold Cup itself, right, Jamaica had moments to remember, right? And what were those moments in particular? Well, Jamaica against Honduras on July 14, 1993 created history. That's right, Jamaica won their first ever game in Gold Cup history. That's right, Jamaica won their first ever game in Gold Cup history. Let me repeat that again. Jamaica won their first ever game in Gold Cup history. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Just think about it. Jamaica 3, Honduras 1. This was Jamaica's first ever victory in Gold Cup history. And who were the men? Who were the goal scorers? Well, we had the likes of Devon Jarrett, Paul Teagat-Davis, and Walter Boyd. All contributed to that victory with goals. What happened when Jamaica took on Panama? Well, Panama opened the scoring in the 50th minute, and then Paul Davis pulled one back for the Jamaicans to make it 1-1, and Jamaica advanced to the semi-finals. The semi-finals against Mexico, the Mexicans got the victory in that game, but Hector Wright created history as Hector Wright became the first reggae boy to score at the Azteca Stadium. Again, Hector Wright was the first reggae boy to score at the Azteca Stadium. Who was the second? Well, 3 days later in the third place playoff, Devon Jarrett. That's right, Devon Jarrett scored Jamaica's second ever goal at the Azteca in the third place playoff as Jamaica shared third place. The first time in Gold Cup history that Jamaica on the medal podium. Isn't that fantastic? Truly, truly, truly riveting. Amazing. And now it comes to the Gold Cup in 1998. And this Gold Cup, to many people say that this was a Gold Cup to remember. And many people think about this Gold Cup when they think about Jamaica as their first memory for some people. Now, remember, the 1998 edition of the Gold Cup, the Caribbean had 2 spots. But in the Gold Cup itself, you had Cuba, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago. So what happened? Well, this is what happened. The 1997 edition of the Caribbean Cup was used to qualify teams for the Gold Cup. Jamaica finished 3rd. You understand what I'm saying? Jamaica finished 3rd. And 1997, this was the last time that Jamaica did not have a result in a penalty shootout. Since then, Jamaica have won all penalty shootouts. Jamaica's won a penalty shootout in the Lunar New Year Cup in 2007. Jamaica won a penalty shootout in the Caribbean Cup Final 2010. And Jamaica won the penalty shootout in the Caribbean Cup Final 2014 as well. So Jamaica, from the penalty spot, outside of the Caribbean Cup in 1993 and 1997, Jamaica's record in penalty shootouts have been good. So, in the tournament, Trinidad and Tobago won the Caribbean Cup that year, while St. Kitts and Nevis finished 2nd in that calendar year. So, heading into the Gold Cup in particular, and I know many, but Simon, St. Kitts and Nevis finished 2nd, so why didn't they go to the Gold Cup? So there was a playoff match between Cuba, the runners-up of the Caribbean Cup in 1996, and St. Kitts and Nevis, the runners-up from the Caribbean Cup in 1997. So that basically determined who would be the last ticket for the Gold Cup itself, and that was done. So that was done, and now, with that being said and that being put together, the Gold Cup itself in 1998, Jamaica took on defending World Cup champions Brazil, a team familiar to American conditions, a team that puffed up their chest with pride. And remember, heading into this game and heading into the Gold Cup and heading into the World Cup year, Cesare Maldini questioned if teams like Jamaica should be in a World Cup when there were teams like Portugal that didn't qualify. Basically supplementing that UEFA teams should get opportunities, more or less along those lines. But going back to Brazil knew North American soil, because remember in the 1994 edition of the World Cup, Brazil played games in California, right? They also had games in Michigan. They also had games, jogging back the memory a bit now, in Dallas, Texas. They also had games at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And now in Miami. While yes, it is a predominantly, Miami is known for the Cuban community, the Haitian community, the Jamaican community. Brazilian community also resides within Miami as well. Miami is a small, nurturing, growing melting pot, and in the late 90s, we saw evidence of that in the atmosphere, and Warren Barrett to the rescue. Yeah, Warren Barrett to the rescue for the Jamaicans for this game. Quite a moment, wasn't it? And then here's where things got a little bit, So, Jamaica's games against Guatemala and El Salvador took place in California at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Now, there was some rain in Los Angeles, and Jamaica's game were supposed to be on February 7 and February 9 of 1998. Due to rain, Jamaica couldn't play Guatemala on February 7. The game was played February 8 and they won 3-2. 22 hours later, bam! Jamaica took on El Salvador and won the game. That's right, they won the game. They won the game. They won it. They won the game. That's right. And Jamaica topped the group for the first time in Gold Cup history. Went to the semi-finals, took on Mexico, and in the third place playoff, took on Brasileiro, as Jamaica finished in the top four. Jamaica's fourth Gold Cup appearance was in the year 2000, and Jamaica qualified for this tournament by virtue of winning the 1998 edition of the Caribbean Cup. That's how Jamaica qualified for this tournament. Jamaica took on Colombia and Honduras at the Orange Bowl Stadium in Miami. And as you guys know, are full aware, the Orange Bowl Stadium in Miami hosted many games for Jamaica in Gold Cup history. We talked specifically about the game in 98 against Brazil. We talked about those two games a while ago, and as you'll hear in a few minutes' time, 2003 as well. So Jamaica took on Colombia and Honduras in the year 2000 at the Gold Cup. And there were 50,000 fans. 50,000 fans in the Orange Bowl Stadium in Miami. Can you guys believe that? 50,000 fans. 50,000 fans. Can you imagine that? Quite something, isn't it? And then we have to go to the year 2003. And for many of you, you guys are fully aware as to why 2003 is a special year. You know, it was the year where Jamaica picked up their first win in a Gold Cup in the 21st century. That's right, Jamaica 2, Guatemala 0. Jamaica winning their first game at the Orange Bowl Stadium in Miami. The Gold Cup, the first game was against Colombia, same stadium. I was at that game in particular, and for the traffic to get to there and the traffic leaving the Orange Bowl Stadium in Miami and going up north, it was chaos, put it that way. The quarterfinals came around and Jamaica took on Mexico at the Azteca Stadium. So that's how everything unfolded. And just a point of reference, the first time that there was a Gold Cup quarterfinal was in the year 2000. This was the first time that they had a Gold Cup quarterfinal. Let's go on to 2005. Now, in 2003, how Jamaica qualified, there wasn't a Caribbean Cup, but you had a final round for CFU qualifying, and Jamaica advanced after, there was a 2-2 draw against Martinique, that 3-0 victory over Haiti. So there was a process in terms of qualifying for the Gold Cup, and it was quite a bit of games, to be frank with you. There was a 1-1 draw with Barbados, which Paul Hall scored in. There was a 2-0 victory over Guadeloupe, which Paul Hall also scored in. And there was also a 4-1 victory over Grenada, which Paul Anthony Hall also scored in as well. So you could say he contributed to Jamaica being at the Gold Cup. And then the final round came around. Jamaica defeated St. Lucia 5-0, and then drew 2-2 with Martinique. And then after that, defeated Haiti by 3-0. And from that, passage was booked and secured for the Gold Cup. 2005, it was a sensational journey. Sensational. Luton Shelton scoring 4 goals on his debut. 4 goals on his debut for Jamaica against Martinique in a 12-0 victory. Then an 11-1 victory over the US Virgin Islands at Jarrett Park. And then a 3-1 victory over Haiti at the National Stadium. And then in the next round, it was St. Lucia, 1-1 on the road and 2-1 in Kingston. Jermaine Hugh with a free kick. Then in the new year, it was French Guyana home and away. 5-0 in Jamaica, 0-0 on the road. And then the final round of 4 teams, Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, Cuba. Jamaica clipped Trinidad and Tobago 2-1, Barbados 1-0. Cuba had the goal difference, Jamaica needed the win. And thanks to Luton Shelton, Jamaica not only won the Caribbean Cup for 2005, but qualified for the Gold Cup that year. Why was this Gold Cup year so special? Jamaica scored 8 goals. That's right, 8 goals. 4-3 victory over Guatemala. Then, 3 days later, bam! 2 days later, bam! South Africa, 3-3. When South Africa scored, we equalized. When South Africa scored, we equalized. When South Africa scored, we equalized. 4 points. Boom. And then came Mexico. And then came the quarterfinals. And in the quarterfinals in particular, Jamaica took on the United States. And Ricardo Fuller scored in that game. Now we go to the Gold Cup in 2009. Qualifying for this Gold Cup, well, Jamaica hosted the final round. And in that process, well, Jamaica first took on Barbados at the National Stadium, a come-from-behind 2-1 victory. After that, Jamaica took on Grenada, a 4-0 victory. And then the second ever football match international at the Trelawney Multipurpose Stadium, Jamaica won, Trinidad won. Eric Vernon scored for Jamaica. The semi-finals, 2-0 victory over Guadeloupe, and the final against Grenada, 2-0 with Luton Shelton scoring a pair of penalties. In the Gold Cup itself, Jamaica defeated El Salvador by 1-0. Omar Cummings scored Jamaica's sole goal of the tournament. 2011 though, there were some memories. Jamaica qualified for this tournament after winning the Caribbean Cup in 2010. Now, in this tournament in particular, history was made. This special moment was the first time, I repeat, the first time in Gold Cup history that Jamaica were registering 9 points in the group stages. They've topped the group before, 1998, 2011, 2015, 2019. That's right. 4-0 over Grenada, 2-0 over Guatemala, 1-0 over Honduras. And then came the quarterfinals. But we march on. That's 2011. But 2015 now, this was the moment to relish. Jamaica won the Caribbean Cup 2014, defeated Trinidad and Tobago on penalties. In the Gold Cup itself now, remember going into the Gold Cup draw for this tournament, Jamaica were one of the unseeded teams. So Jamaica would face one of Costa Rica, Mexico, or the United States in the group stages. So that was for certain. So Jamaica took on Costa Rica, El Salvador, and Canada, and Jamaica topped that group as well. 2 wins and a draw. And Jamaica made progress to the quarterfinals of the tournament. Joby McAnuff, Gareth McCleary, Rudolph Austin, Gareth McCleary. And for the first time in Gold Cup history, Jamaica won a quarter-final match. That's right, 1-0 over Haiti. Giles Barnes, Adrian Mariappa, with the assist. Jamaica won their first ever Gold Cup semi-final. Jamaica 2. The United States 1. Again, Giles Barnes following up, and Darren Mattox with the opener. And Jamaica were in a Gold Cup final. First Caribbean team to do so. Then came 2017. Jamaica qualified by virtue of the Caribbean Cup. That journey, as we know, involved a 4-2 victory over Guyana, a 1-0 victory over Suriname, and in the semi-finals, a victory over French Guyana on penalty kicks in the semi-finals, and then Jamaica took on Curacao within the final. Now, in the tournament, it was compelling. Jamaica defeated Curacao 2-0, 0-0 against Mexico, and 1-1 against El Salvador. Jamaica secured 5 points. In the quarterfinals, Jamaica took on Canada, and for the first time in Gold Cup history, we defeated a North American team in back-to-back years. Canada in 2015, our first ever victory over a North American team at the Gold Cup. And Jamaica's first ever victory over Mexico at the Gold Cup was Gold Cup 2017. Kemar Taxi Lawrence with a free kick. In the quarterfinals, it was Sean Francis and Romario Williams with the goals. The final, it was against the United States of America. 2019 qualification took place by virtue of the Nations League qualification position, and in that process, Jamaica created history by hosting a Gold Cup game for the first time ever. The first Caribbean team to ever do this as well. We also had Caribbean officials like Daniel Parchment, Nicholas Anderson, Shane Nation. Jamaica defeated Honduras 3-2. There's a 0-0 draw with El Salvador, and then a 1-1 draw with Curacao as Jamaica topped the group. Now, with that being said now, the quarterfinals. Jamaica defeated Panama by 1-0. Yep, that is right. Jamaica defeated Panama by 1-0. For the first time in 10 years, Jamaica defeating Panama. That's right. For the first time in 10 years, Jamaica defeating Panama. Jamaica has defeated Panama 3 times. The 3 times came in 1969. Jamaica defeated Panama by, that's right, 2-1. That's right. Jamaica defeated Panama by 2-1. That game took place in Kingston, Jamaica. 1969, 2009, 2019. Those are the occasions itself. And then the semifinals came against the United States of America. The 2021 edition of the Gold Cup, the qualification for that came by virtue of Jamaica winning League B of the Concacaf Nations League. And that process in terms of qualifying took place after Jamaica had 5 wins and a draw. Wins home and away against Aruba, wins home and away as well, where they against Antigua and Barbuda, defeated Guyana away and drew 1-1 with Guyana on home soil. The 2021 edition of the Gold Cup, Jamaica defeated Suriname 2-0. Shamar Nicholson, Bobby Reed, Corey Burke, Junior Flemings. Jamaica went to the quarterfinals and took on the United States. And here we are now at 2023, getting ready to create new records, getting ready to create new memories, getting ready to progress further. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Well, I'm ready, and I hope you guys are as well, because this summer is one that you don't want to forget. Okay? Good. Thank you everybody so much for tuning in. If you guys haven't already, please go ahead and hit the like button. I'll wait for you a moment. I mean, you've endured and you've watched this video for half an hour, so I encourage you, please go ahead and hit the like button. I'll give you a moment. Have you hit the like button yet? Okay guys, be safe, hit the like button, and also hit the subscribe button. Have a pleasant evening.